saying, hello, Dr. Tarbox. I am a huge fan.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that nice? I have a nonverbal 4-year-old that has very limited abilities. Her teacher says she functions at the 9-month level with higher motor skills.
Okay.
She does not stay engaged in any task, even toys, for very long, and has a lot of challenging behavior with group activities. How can we teach her to complete a short task and then she can go play? She loves music when her cognitive abilities are so low. Any advice will be helpful, and thanks.
Great. Yeah, great question, first of all.
Yes.
And first of all, thanks for the praise. I appreciate that. That warms my
Isn't
heart.
that wonderful? And
It's
this
really
sounds
nice.
like a really wonderful, caring parent.
Yeah,
Very
really
well
dedicated
thought out
parent.
question.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so first of all, don't get too caught up in the whole cognitive abilities part. I mean, that's a major thing that parents of kids with special needs get bombarded with, right? Your child has intellectual disability or mental retardation or IQ this or IQ that or whatever else. And it can be depressing, it can be challenging to hear those things. And it can make you feel like there might be some kind of limit on what my child can do, or should I lower my expectations for my child? What's a reasonable level of expectations? And what I always like to say is the ABA perspective is the expectation is always my child can progress from where they are today. Always, tomorrow, their skill level can be a little bit better than what it is today.
Right.
And then the next day it'll be a little bit better than what it was tomorrow, right? So that's the perspective. And honestly, the cognitive impairment part really doesn't matter. Your child can absolutely still learn to engage in an activity independently without lots of nagging and prompting and without challenging behavior, and stay busy and keep busy with a meaningful, non-destructive activity.
Okay.
I've never met a person on the spectrum that could not learn that skill, regardless of degree of cognitive impairment.
So how do we do it?
Right, okay, well, right. That's not the easy part.
Yeah.
So, there's a variety of different ways to do it. The main thing that you want to do...
And I should say, too, I'm going to interrupt you 1 second. I said this at the beginning of the show, but remember that Dr. Tarbox cannot give individual-specific advice.
Right.
So he's going to give you some roundabout things and some suggestions of what you want to do and how you want to get the support that you want to do.
Right, exactly.
I didn't want there to be a misconception about... There's no way you could give Dr. Tarbox enough information, even with all the wonderful things that you said, for him to give you child-specific advice for your daughter.
It wouldn't even be ethical for me to try to give child-specific advice because I don't have the relationship with the family and the client, so I don't know.
But you have one of the best minds here to pick to get suggestions and ideas about how you approach this. So
here's some general tips on teaching sort of independent leisure skills or activities to keep an individual busy. It's and there's a spectrum from really simple to really complex. So you probably start with really simple activities. If the child already really likes music, then I would incorporate that somehow. So start with some kind of activity that involves music that the kid really likes, okay? Maybe it's a toy where you press buttons and it makes music. Maybe it's a CNC or whatever where you pull a lever and it sings a song, whatever. If your child likes stuff that's more complex than that, then that's fine. Start with something more complex. But whatever is relatively easy for your child to manipulate, start there. You're going to need to do quite a bit of prompting, usually hand-over-hand prompting, to get them to interact with the toy for longer, and then you use additional positive reinforcement on top of that, and it has to be reinforcement that actually works for your child. It can't be something that you wish they wanted. It might have to be an edible if that's the only thing that works. It might have to be tickles if that's their favorite thing, whatever, right? But lots of positive reinforcement. And what you do is you gradually fade out the prompting so that they interact with the toy or the activity for longer and longer periods of time, pardon me, without you having to physically prompt them as much. But you have to fade that prompting very, very slowly. It has to be very systematic. And what you'll see is you eventually can fade out the prompting and fade out the contrived reinforcement, the edibles or the whatever it is, the tickles or the praise, and gradually the individual learns to get their own reinforcement out of playing with that toy. So you're basically teaching them a form of self-stimulatory behavior, but it's an appropriate form, right?
Okay.
So when you read a book, that's self-stimming, right? You're just getting enjoyment out of reading a book, right? When you're doing a puzzle, that's self-stimulatory behavior. You're just getting enjoyment. Yeah. It's the same thing. We're just trying to teach a simple and more appropriate way of keeping yourself busy by getting enjoyment out of an activity. And of course, you're not just going to do one toy or one activity. You're going to do multiple different activities. Right. And it might take a while. It might take 9 months to reach full independence with those activities. Okay. It could take a very long time. But what we almost always see is if we train enough different activities with enough powerful reinforcers, that those activities start to become self-reinforcing, and that individuals will just want to do them on their own, even when they don't have to. And then there's lots of other things you could do too, like visual cues, picture activity schedules, things like that, that help increase independence and help keep help kids form the concept that after I entertain myself for a while in an appropriate way, then I get to go do the thing that I really want to do.
Okay.
Which is, kind of what we all have to do anyways, right?
Everybody's on that schedule.